Would you mind telling me whose brain I did put in?
And you won't be angry?
I will not be angry.
Abby someone.
Abby someone. Abby who?
Abby Normal.
This is the Abby Normal podcast, here to tell you that you're weird, and that's normal. I also have the rabbit that I've used like 2 times, and I was like, this is far too much.
Really?
Way too much.
I've never used that one. Girthy.
Well, yeah, and it just has all these apparatuses, right? So it has the like...
Rabbit ears.
Yeah, so the ear part is like clitoral stimulation, right? And then there's like a dildo part.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's an anal part too. It's just like way, 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 way too much.
Wow.
For me.
Yeah. I remember accidentally finding yours, though, when I reached into the bathroom drawer to borrow your hairbrush and pulled that out instead.
Mm-hmm. So
And did I do the right thing, which was put it back in the drawer and pretend like I hadn't seen it?
That's always the right thing.
That's not what I did.
Did you like run out and pump it up and down and be like, what
Well,
is
I ran out of
this?
the bathroom screaming and threw it at you.
You threw it at me.
Yeah.
Did you try it first? Were you like,
No.
okay, it's good then.
No. Also, like, how awkward would that be if I'm in your bathroom and suddenly you just hear zzz,
Be like,
and be like, I'll be out in a minute.
Bad attraction. Yeah! Come on. I wanna do my own thing, but I think I followed a trend.
welcome to a very special episode. As you may have already gathered, we get to talk to some friends today about masturbation, when and how they discovered self-pleasure, and will they talk to their kids about it? Apparently, this topic goes hand in hand with pornography. You see what I did there? So that slides into our conversation too. We're going to start with John. You might remember him from the Awkward Touch episode. He grew up in LA where everything is sexy, so obviously he got started early. Here he is.
For boys, it comes and it's furious when it comes. No pun intended. but yeah, you get really horn doggy at like 11, you know. My earliest quote unquote sexual memory was straddling the footrest divider in the back of my grandparents' Cadillac. And I was a toddler.
Yeah.
But I remember imagining that I was wrapped around Catwoman's leg. And that gave me a very, very funny feeling.
Right, in the nether region.
And the nethers.
Are you going to talk to either of your kids about masturbation?
Yes, I have graciously agreed with my wife that I will handle the boy.
Okay.
And you know, with my daughter, I feel like it's not super comfortable for her. Again, I am the remnant of hippie parents, so there's a lot of nudity in my house. And I think that's really good. And the reason I think it's good is because I think it eliminates the association of nudity with sex.
Right.
Because it's ridiculous, you know? But at the same time, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty unless she asks, and then I'm happy to talk. With my son, you know, I focus a lot on both of them on 3 things. 1 is being polite. 2 is not being a victim. One of the problems I have with many of modern feminist thought is the expectation that the world is supposed to change to accommodate me. And I call my daughter Grace my Valkyrie. She's a warrior woman. And I want her to be, you know, not rattled when stuff isn't set up exactly for her. I want her to be able to power through. So a lot of the counsel and advice I give her is around how to push that through that stuff. I think the last thing, so polite, tough, and the last thing is just really being emotionally intelligent and being able to determine when something's appropriate and it's not appropriate, you know? And it's funny. It's really hard with my son who's 8. You know, we get in the car together, we're cranking up Metallica. We got the flat brim hats with the shades on together. He's my homie, you know, but he's fucking 8 years old. So every now and then I got to pull back. Like a year ago, I was like, we're going to watch fucking Conan the Barbarian. I'm going to teach my son the riddle of steel and what it means to be a man. And then like the first scene, he's having sex with a witch who's naked and he throws her into the fire. I was like, nope. Jump the gun here on this one. Let's pull back.
Hold on that for a couple years.
Let's pull back a little bit. But he still thinks girls are gross. Or at least, it has no romantic interest in girls. He's got lots of friends that are girls, but yeah. So
what age do you think you'll have the sex conversation with him?
I've gotten to pieces of it. I think masturbation is a topic that really needs to get discussed between a father and a son, more so than it used to be because of the internet porn.
Totally.
Boom, and there, again, I'm 42 years old. There is so much stuff that grosses me out.
Yes.
And again, we've known each other a while. I did the rock and roll thing for a while. I feel like I've been exposed to plenty, but
you've had some experiences. Yeah,
I've had some experiences. As Jimi Hendrix would say, I'm experienced. But going onto the internet and you run into all manner of things, it's still so. I feel like, compared to my day where we would sneak a dad's Playboy and there were like maybe 4 or 5 nude pictures in there. Things are in there and there's a lot of fucked up wrong shit.
Yes.
And just in the regular shit. I mean, like, you go on and there's so much, it's not real, but it's simulated incest. It's simulated rape. There's a lot of yucky shit. And I think, one of the things that I'm keen to address with him is this is not real life. This is not how you treat women. This is not how you treat yourself, And so, yeah. I mean, it's not hard to explain sex to a boy. Like, he's going to rub his penis against anything until he finishes.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of nuance in terms of what's appropriate and what's not. And I think in my day it was all about, well, you have to care for your partner. They should be someone you love. And that's kind of bullshit. It's kind of bullshit. I mean, sex
it definitely leaves out part of the equation.
Well, it does. And it's and it's like the whole abstinence, like, there was, oh God, that's something else I wanted to mention. I took my daughter to school, and then Julie and I, my wife and I, dropped our son off at school last week. And when we came back to our cars, this right-wing parental group had blanketed and pamphleted all the cars.
No.
And it was all about how we should be able to opt our children out of teaching them about LGBT rights and what that means and sexual orientation. And they were making ridiculous claims that they're like learning how to give blowjobs in 8th grade and all this other total fear-mongering bullshit, And that really angered me. Yeah, and as you know, like, I'm a advertiser, marketer by trade, so I was like, I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to find out who these people are, and I'm going to lean in and go at them pretty hard online. Yeah. And so I did that. And
the flyer was garbage too, right? Just graphically, it was terrible.
No, it wasn't. It was inherently racist and filled with misinformation.
Okay.
And it just really disturbed me. I mean, because on the one hand, there's no parent in the world that's like, I can't wait for my young darling to go out and experience sex.
No,
right?
No.
Nobody's hyped for that. So they leaned into that. But it was really a cover for, I don't want my child to learn about homosexuality. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's just totally fucking unacceptable, And I think not where I want my kids to be, back to the emotional intelligence thing. I want them to be empathetic human beings, and I want them to understand things. And there's certain people that are dicks, and that's just life, Yeah. But it you've got to take every person for who they are at face value, Yeah.
Well, and I'm not afraid of my kid having information.
No,
about life, and then they can do with it what they will.
Right. And again, there is levels to how much information they get in terms of their own maturity, But like, yeah, my 8-year-old son, he still believes in Santa Claus. He doesn't really need to learn about all these things, but they're not teaching that, and that's what the flyer was insinuating. But the idea, he's in 2nd grade, by the way, the idea that we don't want to teach junior high school kids this stuff and want to wait till high school, again, I'm proof it's fucking too late.
Right.
They're going to get started, and they're going to make bad decisions,
Yep.
and because they're uninformed decisions, and that's catastrophic. My buddy and I went golfing when we were like 11, and we were in the bushes probably urinating or throwing rocks into the river, but we found a box of porno, and that shit was like fucking gold. So we took like maybe a stack, like 8 to 10 of our favorite pictures from these various magazines. It was such contraband that we didn't dare sneak them into our house, so we hid them in the local park. In the bushes, and then would go visit them. We weren't masturbating looking at them, but we'd look at them. But when we did have our dad's Playboy, my stepdad and dad never had Playboy. I had one of my stepdad's friends from England came and bought a Playboy and left it. And that was my that was my golden ticket. Like, you were well versed in that magazine because there was not a lot of them. But the main thing was you had to use your imagination.
Yes.
And now it's like, with the fucking gape and the other shit, it's too much. It's too explicit. It's way more than I want to see.
I don't know what that means, and I do not want to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like it's not good because they're gonna get jaded. There's no imagination. And again, back to my earlier point, the worst fear for me is they somehow assume that's how sex goes down.
Totally.
You know, I played rock and roll in a band from 17 to sort of 21, and one time I had one sexual encounter in my entire life where I had a woman look at me and I look back at her, and without speaking, we knew we wanted to have sex, and we went and we had sex. One time. One fucking time. Like,
right.
And if you go back to like the 70s and 80s porn, that's every time. Or it's the pizza man coming. Or and nowadays, they don't even have that shit. It's like, it's what they call gonzo. So it's just like immediately them having sex. Or it's like framed as some disgusting incest or screwing, you know, anyway. So
Yeah. Lots of yucky.
Lots of yucky. Lots of unrealistic.
Well, and it takes away the fun of like discovering with your partner some
Right.
of the things you might be into without already having in your mind some shit on the internet people have
I
done.
mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I enjoyed sex as a young man, but most of the fun, you're right, was the tingly sensation you get before the first kiss with the partner.
100%.
You know?
And a good old dry hump too.
Oh God, there was a lot of that. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I think, you know, that learning to communicate and speak and be an advocate.
Quick loop back. What was the first porn you ever saw? Was it that box when you were 11?
No, it was not. I think the first boobs I ever saw was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Phoebe Cates, man. Still, they don't make girls like that anymore.
No, they don't.
They just really don't. She had like the super sexy cute combo, which is just, it doesn't seem like it exists anymore.
Yeah, just only in your wife. That's all.
So the first porn I remember very distinctly. I was probably 9 or 10. I remember being thoroughly grossed out. Again, Anthony and Grant were the older kids on my block. There were 3 brothers. They were older. But Anthony and Grant, when we were like 9 and 10, I think they were probably in high school. But yeah, anyway, so they had us over.
10.
Yeah, I'm 9 or 10 years old.
3 brothers.
And no, it's just Grant. And he had in his room pictures of like Morgan Fairchild, like all of the 80s. And I think some of them, like the Heather Thomas and the Morgan Fairchild, were just in bikinis. But he had a couple nudes up. And
I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know,
just
like
displaying
the
women
posters.
in your bedroom. Absolutely. Yeah.
Totally
I never
forgot.
did that. I went from sports heroes, George Brett, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, to just every Guns N' Roses hit parade or Kerrang
Right.
pinup I could. It was all Guns N' Roses and the Cult in my room.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So they dragged us into the living room of their house one day. They weren't babysitting us or anything, which is something they also did. Yeah, and they put on a X-rated film where there was a hard-on ejaculating and the whole thing, and I remember being sick to my stomach. It was so gross.
Yeah.
It was so gross. It was so far. I mean, this was pre-masturbation, so
Right.
yeah, and then there was also like kind of a homosexual component to early masturbation in that like kids that were peers would teach the other peers how to masturbate.
Oh, okay.
So nobody was touching anybody, but we were certainly masturbating in a group setting, which is quite, it doesn't fly once you get a little older, you know? But yeah, I had the same guy taught this other friend of mine, and he was like, yeah, you use Vaseline and you tug on your penis when it's hard. And again, when you're masturbating as a prepubescent, it has the same feeling, but nothing comes out.
Oh.
Yeah. And then you get into the dog water phase, which just a little water leaks out. It's AKA pre-cum. Mm-hmm. And then you ready for the big show. And then you're like, well, Jesus, did I break it? Like, what's happening? This doesn't look good, you know?
So did you try to masturbate because other people were like telling you how to do it?
Yes,
and you should do
I
it?
was, again, similar to sex. I didn't discover it naturally. Now, I was certainly prone to dry humping things, but God, this is a good story. So one of my friends, who was like a friend of a friend, I don't remember this guy's name, but it was my friend Ryan's friend. And Ryan's parents had all the Playboys. They had vibrators at their house, and he was the one that originally told me about Vaseline. Oh. But this other friend of his, we went over to his house. We sat, the three of us, on his parents' bed, and they had an early vibrator which had like kind of like a suction cup on it. And he said, put this on your dick until you get the feeling. Yeah. And like, so the three of us sat there, and one guy took it and put it on his penis. I mean, it didn't take long. It took like a minute, and we sat there and did it together,
Just till you had the feeling, but not the full experience.
No, so it's the feeling is basically an orgasm. Oh. That's what they were we didn't know what that was, but it was like we knew that it felt good, and then there was this sensation you had at the end of it. But again, we were so young that there was no discharge. Yeah.
Do you feel now that those parents were irresponsible with their sex toys?
Yeah. I mean, they were, but like, I mean, what are you gonna put it in a safe? Are you gonna? I don't know. I mean, it didn't like. The thing is, like, I was certainly ahead of the curve as I was with most of my sexual encounters in life, but the rest of the group was not far behind. It then brought into the other. That was like by I think 5th or 6th grade, the hot jam was we all press our dicks up against jacuzzi jets together in the hot tub.
Jacuzzi jets are the best.
Yeah. Like the weird thing is, I think the thing that feels a little raw about this is all of this happened completely devoid of any interaction with females.
Right.
Like it was, and that's what I mean by it was sort of homosexual in nature, and that like all of my early sexual explorations, again, not kissing dudes, we're not touching each other's dicks, but we learned to masturbate in a group setting. And it's so funny, like, again, I have no shame, as my wife will tell you. So I don't mind talking about this, but I brought it up with my friend Ben, who I haven't seen in a long time, and I saw him and I brought up us.
Wait, was he? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
He was involved in this.
Yeah, he was part of the circle jerk in the jacuzzi, like the five. I mean, it was like 4 boys. We'd be out there at like 12, just like like I'm sure the mom saw. It's rough, but But I remember I was like, hey, Ben, you remember those jacuzzi days? And like this motherfucker tried to give me a straight face and act like he had no idea what I was talking about.
So have you talked to other men about this? Like, do you feel like this is normal?
You know, I the only men I've talked to about it are my close old friends.
Mm-hmm.
This is not something that comes up in conversation with friends that I've made past the age of 12.
Right.
But jerking off kind of does, but usually the jerk off stories that you share as grown men are like more along the lines of like, you know, oh my God, one time I jerked off 5 times in a day, or
yeah.
you know, whatever. That it's more, you know, sort of war stories about
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so funny how that guy, you know, I mean, my oldest friend Anthony, like we, you know, we just like when we get together, we're both in our 40s now, but like when we get together, we're just 6-year-olds again. Like, everything is giggly and funny, and him and I talk openly, and we just laugh about it. But it was kind of, it was amusing and slightly surprising that a guy that had this kind of exposure and vulnerability to me, like
Right.
where we shared this experience, was like gonna try to pretend like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, bro, whatever, you know.
Well, perhaps you're a little more secure in your masculinity.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Just adulthood or whatever.
Yeah. Yourself.
Yeah, myself.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah.
Best friend. Yeah. Flying in my eye holes and just trying hard to see. Yeah.
Next up is my friend Jen, and you might remember her from the Jelly Belly episode. She also has a daughter the same age as mine, and we're going to explore a little bit how and should you talk to your daughters about masturbation. So I'm on this Facebook group, which is called Raising Children Unfundamentalist, and so it's from people that came from like fundamentalist backgrounds, basically like recovering Christians.
Right.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of parenting stuff about like, you know, throwing off kind of some of the things that we learned growing up and determining how do we parent moving forward. But my whole point is that there was this one about like masturbation.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like I definitely received no information about
Right.
that. And if my husband was down here, he received the opposite, which is a lot of bad information.
Right. Which is usually, I feel like that's usually the difference between men and women.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Right. So anyways, so the spectrum or the pendulum is swinging the other direction.
Right.
So what I hear on there is a lot of like, I got my daughter a vibrator and like taught her how to use it, you know, like body positivity and snarf and farfin. And I feel very torn about all of this. Do you have any opinions or thoughts on how you might communicate with your daughter about that?
I will tell you the story of how I communicated with her or attempted to. So, okay, this is going to get personal. Okay, so I can't tell it without it getting without it getting personal. So, we were hot tubbing in an Airbnb that's like a second home of ours in Florida, and I never wear clothes in the hot tub if I can get away with it. And I have a hood piercing. And it's been there as long as she's been alive. And so she knows about it. She does. And so she actually brought it up, and she does this sometimes where she'll so, hey, I've got a question. And she'll just kind of like toss it out. And it's usually something she's been thinking about for a long time. And she was like, why do you have a piercing in your vagina? Like, what is going on? And so I was attempting to tell her why I would have that. Then it increases pleasure. And the more I was getting into, the more I was realizing like I was in over my head.
Retreat.
And I literally at one point was like, this is actually like, I was like, and we're done. Like I was like,
Night.
this is officially over your age capacity limits, right? And so I stopped it and ended it. But during the point of that conversation, I had said, you know, like that is where us girls feel pleasure from, like that can feel good, and sometimes it like, and I was like, you know, and it might even feel good. I was like, sometimes people notice that it feels good when they touch themselves there. And you might have even done that. And if you have, that's okay. And if you haven't, that's not an invitation to do so. But I'm just saying that if you have, it's okay. And I was like so awkward through this whole thing. And she looked at me and she goes, yeah, that is not a party I am RSVPing to. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh. Token Roryism.
That is not a party I am RSVPing to.
Also,
Oh, man.
when she's an adult, I want to remind her of that and be like, bitch, you hell of RSVP to that. Like 2 years later.
Totally. Yeah, but in the moment, and I was like, okay. Like, some kids start this at like 2.
Yeah. Oh,
and
totally.
3,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then
Right.
I was like, oh, this has never come up.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's something that's happening that I'm not aware of. And so I wanted to take the moment to be like, sure, it's okay.
Right.
And I was like, okay, you're actually not there yet. That's why
Right.
it hasn't come up.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't like, I started early and was totally happy with
Yeah.
what I discovered. I didn't need anyone to talk to me or teach me or like
Yeah.
figured it right out. No problems. And no guilt because my church didn't talk to me about it. They pretended it wasn't even a thing. So that worked
So
out
you
well
didn't
for
know
me.
it was bad.
Right.
See, I, on the other hand, I was an avid reader when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
Like I read like a plethora of Dean Koontz books when I was in 4th and 5th grade.
Yep.
Like I remember being like, I thought it was super cool because my books had swear words in them and they were adult books, right? And at some point, and I don't know how or why this happened, and this was a very questionable decision on my mother's part, but at some point I discovered a Harlequin romance.
Oh, right.
Book, and then there was a card in there where you could like get them delivered to you monthly.
Oh my gosh.
Like they would deliver you
No.
like 4 of them monthly,
No,
like
no,
on
no.
like a mail subscription. Yes.
Did you do it?
And I did. I like asked my mom if I could, and she was like, "Okay." Like 'cause
Your
they're
mom
books.
got porn delivered, lady porn delivered to your home on a monthly basis.
On a monthly basis, and I read all those books, and I was like 10, 11 years old. I read all of them, and I remember being in bed, being like squirming and
Oh
being
my
like,
God.
I don't know what's happening to my body.
Oh my god, that's so good. That's so
I
good.
had no idea what was going on.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
my
I love that.
God.
Forget this whole idea about like buying your daughter a vibrator. I'm going to get a subscription to Harlequin romance novels and she can figure it out on her own.
Yeah, totally.
Like we've done for centuries.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Real story. Yeah. And I never did figure it out.
No,
Like,
you didn't?
No, I didn't start masturbating until after I was having sex for
Oh.
at least a year.
Honey bunny.
I know, right? I had
Aw.
no clue. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. You weren't curious?
Yeah.
Like when it was tingling down there, you were like, what's going on? I should
I-
explore that further.
I don't know. I think I must have, but then I don't know.
Annie's going to share the first porn that she encountered, including a very creative vintage film. What was the first porn you ever saw?
Probably that 1970s Alice in Wonderland one.
Excuse me?
Oh, come on.
No, I've never seen such a thing.
Oh my god, it's fantastic.
Wait, is it a magazine or a movie or what?
Oh, I thought you meant movie.
Oh, I was just like any sexual pictures via different media.
Okay, then the very first time I saw like a pornographic photo was probably when I went to Girl Scout camp.
What?
We think one of like the camp counselors like the male camp counselors probably like forgot it in the room or something. It was like under the bed.
I mean, did they use that campground for things besides Girl Scout camp?
I think so, but I don't know. I know I was young. I have no idea.
For some reason, the fact that it was Girl Scout camp like makes it even dirtier and upsetting to me.
I mean, they have to use it for other things.
Oh, Boy Scout camp, right?
Right.
Right.
We're just not there at the same time.
So what was it? Do you remember what the images were of?
It was one single image, and it was fully just like a spread eagle naked lady.
Yeah, dude.
And I was just like, why? Like, that position does not look comfortable.
No.
Yeah. That was the first time I saw a pornographic photo, and I was like, you know, a big old nerd, and I was like, we should definitely give this to one of the counselors. And all the other girls were like, no.
What did they want to do with it?
I don't know.
Take it home in their duffel bag?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Did you turn it in?
Of course I did.
You're so responsible.
It was inappropriate.
I mean, like a second grader. How old were you when you saw it?
Probably 10.
Ugh, creepy. So I found my best friend's dad's Playboy stash, like under the bathroom sink, you know?
Yeah.
He had quite a collection. And I was just like, what is happening with the pubic hair region area? That was confusing.
Yeah.
Because they were for sure, you know, like 80s
100%.
style.
You need to watch that 1970s Alice in Wonderland
Okay, so yeah.
porn video. It's like basically live action Alice in Wonderland, except everybody's fucking, and there's just bush everywhere.
Wait. So she is hooking up with the Cowardly Lion. Is that correct?
That's not Alice in Wonderland.
Okay,
That's
but
the Wizard of Oz.
But has anyone made that though? Because I really want to make out with the Cowardly Lion.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have been all about
He's
Scarecrow.
basically my husband. I mean, my husband's not cowardly, but you know, he's like kind of like, meh. cut this, Steven.
Steven, cut this out.
Okay, Alice in Wonderland. I do not understand how that could be sexual at all. She's like alone, and then there's a rabbit with a watch and a cat. Like what? Where does the sexy time come into this?
Mad Hatter.
Ugh, gross.
Yeah. And I don't remember all of it.
Okay, so what age were you when you saw this piece of garbage?
Ooh, probably junior high or early high school. It was like a funny, like, I was spending the night at a friend's house, and it was popped on. And then...
Like, wait, via VHS player? Like, so it was fully her parents' video.
Yeah.
And she was like, haha, look at this.
Yeah.
Her parents had to have not known.
No.
Please tell me they did not know.
They did not know. Of course they did not know. And then I saw it again later in life.
Okay, so what was your reaction? I mean, you're into it, obviously.
No. But like none of it was my idea. None of the times. Like the second time I saw it was with a boy that I worked with a couple years ago, and we were like drinking at my house or something, and then he was like, "Haha, have you ever seen this? It's hysterical." And he put it on. I was like, oh my God, yes, I have seen this, but not since I was a small child. So we watched it. Not in a like, we're gonna fuck kind of way. Like it wasn't like warm up.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is hysterical. And then we watched it for his bachelorette party.
Well, that's an appropriate time to watch something like that for sure.
Yeah.
So you're at the slumber party. Your friend is like, haha, check this shit out.
Right.
She puts it in, and like, what is your little brain telling you about this?
I just didn't understand what was happening. I was like, oh, that's Alice in Wonderland. Like, I understood, like, this is Alice in Wonderland. Like, a bad version of it. What are they doing? Mm-hmm. And I mean, ultimately, like, I don't know. I feel like, has your daughter had any sex education yet?
Yes, she had, this year.
So, I mean, I feel like I probably had some grasp of what sexual relations was, but I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember what I thought. Just being like, oh my God, we're definitely probably not supposed to be watching this.
Right.
What is your masturbation routine?
What is it, like the second week of your cycle?
Yeah,
Like when is like the horny week?
horny
of your
week,
cycle? Yeah.
Is it like when you're ovulating and it's like, make a baby?
Totally. Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
I was pelvic thrusting when I said that.
Thank you. I saw that with my eyes and I liked it.
You're welcome.
I'm like the easiest masturbator ever. Like I do not require any videos or shows or devices or anything.
Oh, you're a manual.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh. I use a device,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like I require any,
Anything special.
like, yeah, like I don't require a visual stimulant. Because I have an active imagination, so I'm all set.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes I'm just too tired, though.
To masturbate?
Yeah, I'll think about it, but like, oh, tonight would be a good night. And then by the time it's like,
You're just
yeah, I'm just like, well, I could open my bedside drawer to retrieve my vibrator.
uh-huh.
But yeah, and then sometimes I get tired and I'm just like, oh. It's been really difficult. Also, I got a weighted blanket and that's just a lot to. Once.
So you prefer your weighted blanket over your vibrator? Like if you were to choose one.
Listen, I've had my vibrator for a long time. Our relationship is stable and steady.
Right.
The weighted blanket, though, it's brand new. I'm still excited about
Yeah,
it.
getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the honeymoon phase of our relationship. Also, as soon as I get underneath it, I am promptly asleep.
Yeah. That's good. You feel
So,
nice and cozy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like pinned to my bed. So, like, I don't have a choice. I can't, like, roll around and thrash. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like you're down.
Yeah. They each provide you different things in the relationship.
And
so,
apparently, right now, I just need my rest.
yeah, that's okay.
So.
Yeah. I had this little vibrator that like goes on your fingertip.
Oh.
You know, it's like literally this big. It's small.
It just, like, slipped. Like, is it like a sleeve on your finger?
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool.
It's like a ring. It's like a ring.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But it just it broke.
Oh,
I need a new one.
that's a sad story.
It was a sad story. Yeah. Eventually, I'll get over to what's the place in San Francisco?
Good vibrations.
Yeah, Good Vibrations. Holla. I got my like.
We got one in Oakland too, Lakeshore.
Oh yeah.
I like that one better.
What's the cards when you get the stamp?
Like a loyalty card.
Yeah, I'm a loyal customer to the Good Vibrations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have the card.
No. I was gonna say something now that I feel like might be awkward. I was gonna say I have one like a tiny vibrator that I didn't love.
Nope, that would be awkward.
Yep, I
but
thought so.
Thanks. Anyway.
My tried and true vibrator is like 6 inches long. No, maybe 5. I don't know. And it's just like
So that's like average penis length and width, right?
It's not normal width because it is straight vibrator. It's not like a dildo.
What does that mean? Wait,
Like-
does it go inside?
It can, but you don't have to. You can just use it for clitoral stimulation.
Okay. All right. Cool.
It works
Great. Does the job.
quite quick too. In a hurry.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
Get it done. I gotta get to sleep under my weighted blanket. No time to lose.
So you are now fun employed
I am.
and you can just like flick the bean all day now.
I can, but I haven't.
Maybe next week, once your house is all clean, your closets are cleaned out.
Yes.
You're laying under your weighted blanket in the morning and you're like, I literally have nothing better to do
Then to get off.
than get off.
Yeah. Maybe.
I think
We'll see.
I think you'll feel that way. Yeah, you're like, how do I want to pleasure myself today? Is it brunch? Is it yoga? Is it masturbating twice today?
Ooh. Twice in one day.
Right.
I got tired.
How about just getting to know your body? Finding pleasure in your own body.
I know my body pretty well. Do you know yours?
saying.
Have you gotten to know your body better?
I
Through
know
your
it.
through your fun employment?
Not really.
No, I feel like we're as close as we're ever gonna get.
Yeah.
My body and I.
Annie and I are veering into what podcasts we're listening to. related to sex. I just started this one called Momgasm, and it's these two women talking about sex. And obviously they're also moms.
How's that going?
So I appreciate that there's content like that available.
But it's not for you?
It's not for me.
Okay.
No. I mean, I really enjoyed the one episode I listened to. I'm just not that interested in sex, I guess. To listen to like, you know, a year's worth of episodes or whatever. But I'm glad it's out there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be interested in that either. It's not that I'm not interested in sex. It's just that, like, I feel all set being able
just to be clear, I enjoy sex.
Right.
And want to have it, but...
Yes, I just mean, like, I feel like if I need to talk about it, I'm all set with talking to, like, you.
Correct.
And my handful of other sister friends, so...
Right. The episode I listened to on that Momgasm podcast...
What's it about?
Was about porn. And the one thing that I thought was really interesting was that they both talked about their masturbation was totally tied to porn. Like,
really?
Yeah. Like they only like had solely masturbated to porn.
Maybe they don't have very good imaginations.
And one of them, if not both, like started watching porn before she even started masturbating.
I feel like that's so the TV show that I mentioned to you, Mrs. Fletcher, the HBO miniseries.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of what's happening there too.
Like what happened in the first episode?
Well, like that she's starting to like watch porn and like she's like mid-40s and empty nesting as a single mom and like Googled the term MILF because one of her friends was like, you got to get back out there dating. Like you're a total MILF. And she was like, ew, I hate that term. And then she Googled it and all these porn sites came up. So she...
Right.
And then was like started watching porn on the reg.
Right.
But I don't know how the story's going to unfold yet. But yeah, my interpretation of it is that it's like her sexual reawakening.
Right. Well, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but both these women were basically talking about their own porn addictions. And one was like
did they qualify them as addictions?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One was like rallying for her, like warnings on porn.
That it's addicting?
Mm-hmm. Same as you would like cigarettes or alcohol or whatever.
That's interesting.
Uh-huh. And like neither one of them were like anti-porn necessarily. Just that people should have all of the information before indulging.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, so I've also been listening to this podcast called WTF with Julia Wells. Have you heard of her?
Mm-mm.
She's like a, I don't know, coach.
Like a life coach?
Like a life coach.
Okay.
Yeah. Also business coach, I think. But she's all about pleasure. All right. So I need to know more information.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about at all.
But
pleasure positive.
yes. Pleasure and body positive.
Okay.
And kind of channeling those things into whatever you're doing, into the whatever work you do in the world. And that like you should find pleasure in those things and feel good about yourself, whatever it is that you're doing. And if you don't, get the fuck out of there.
Got it.
Don't waste your time.
I mean, I'm into that.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Okay.
Feels a little uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I kind of barely feel comfortable talking about masturbation with you. Like I do. It's fine.
right.
But we don't usually talk about it. We have, but not a lot.
There's not a lot to cover there, really.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you do it? Do you like it? Me too. Cool. Everyone's satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Porn, no porn,
Right.
manual, device. Like, what do you...
Yeah. You might remember Cindy. She went to Korea camp in the summertime episode and also punched a guy with braces on the loyalty situation episode. And I just have a quick question for her. Would you rather bone the Cowardly Lion or the Tin Man? It's all about the Cowardly Lion.
Yeah, I think so, because the Tin Man, that just seems uncomfortable. I look at the Tin Man and see corners, and that just seems
That's true.
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Never thought about that before. No one's ever posed that question to me.
I mean, if I feel like your husband is more the Tin Man.
He is more the Tin Man.
and
and
my
there are
husband
some
is
sharp
the Cowardly
corners.
Lion.
And your husband is absolutely the cow. Where can we put his little red bow?
I wanna be your best friend. Yeah, yeah. Blind in my eye holes. And
Quick clarification. I don't necessarily agree with what John said about current feminist thought. I think that we do need the world to change for the safety of girls and women. But I appreciate that he's trying to raise a tough girl. I know I only talked to 3 friends, but I feel like it's a fairly safe assumption that practically all humans will masturbate and also discover pornography, at least initially through no intention of their own. So we gotta talk about it with our kids sooner rather than later. Enjoy yourself. This track is Bad Attraction by Stefan Kartenberg.
This is like a
No.
not fun topic, so this feels like something
Okay, well then
you
fine.
give a heads up about before inviting me to come
Okay,
talk
fine.
on your
We don't have to talk about purity
podcast
culture.
about jerking off.